Well, hit me up. What do you want to talk about?
Yes. Are trans women, I'm going to say you could be whatever you want to be, but as far as being a woman, which whatever a woman means, I grew up in the area. You can call me a female woman. You was
Hmm.
proud to be called a female back in my day. I do not care for that cis thing. I know people who feel they are and they are going through transitioning and things like that. But the only thing I didn't agree with what you just said was something about autism, because autism spectrum is from 0 to 100. It's a 360. And I have
Yeah.
a nephew who is autistic, and he does not seem like whatever you looked up saying about autistic people who are you something about trans or something. I can't agree with that.
Oh, no, no, no. I'm not speaking in absolutes here. Like, obviously, when we're talking about, autistic people or any other kind of like neurodivergent condition, we do have to speak in generalities to some extent. And it is observed in the medical literature that there is a correlation, or at least an increased likelihood of autistic people identifying as trans. I think it in particular has to do with how, for many autistic people, they don't really like feel a need to uphold societal standards for the sake of upholding societal standards, and that can essentially encourage somebody to express their gender, however would be most authentically of them, regardless of whether or not society is going to um, approve of it per se. So I'm not trying to say that like all autistic people are trans, but rather there are some neurodivergent characteristics which are common in autistic people that can make it more likely for them to express a trans identity. And yeah, that's just what we've seen in the medical literature.
I understand what the medical literature says. It's put in there in certain, I mean, I want to sound, because I don't care what nobody wants to do with their body or anything. So I don't want to sound like I'm judging anybody, because I'm going to be standing before the Lord by myself. So I'm going to leave that alone.
Hmm.
But I feel when you say trans women are women, you are putting us who feel, not feel, I ain't gonna put my, you're putting us women who I have had 3 children. I have went through puberty. I haven't had to
Hmm.
take no hormones or anything. Even when I went through the change, I didn't take hormones or anything like that. And
Yeah.
to me, it like degrades us a little bit,
How
you
does that
know.
degrade? Wait, wait. How does that degrade womanhood in any way? I'm not trying to take womanhood away from you. I fully believe that you're a woman. My only worry is that if you're trying to say that, well, you have to have these certain characters to be women, that you're going to be excluding and degrading other women. For example, you brought up, well, I didn't have to take hormones. There are lots of intersex women that do take hormones to achieve a female hormone profile, which is right for them. Are they not women because they take hormones? When you
No,
start trying to
when
limit what
you're
womanhood is,
intersex,
it creates these problems.
when you're intersex, they look at more than just the genitals. If you have a uterus and ovaries, they're going to want you to sway more towards the woman part. Okay. I know this for a fact. It ain't like you get a choice if you're born with both. It's more to just saying you're intersex and you have both sexes, but one is gonna dominate. Your insides, your body
That's
is
not
gonna
necessarily
dominate.
true. There are absolutely intersex people who are pretty much right in the middle. It's not always the case that you're going to be have sex characteristics dominant on one side or the other. But kind of my belief is that hey, it's very cool and it's very fascinating that people are born on this spectrum of having different biological sex characteristics. Oftentimes being kind of more so in the male category or the female category, more rarely in the middle, and then sometimes very much so in the middle. And we should encourage people to, like if they're born with certain like intersex characteristics, if they're happy with them, absolutely, they should celebrate that kind of diversity, that kind of unique aspect of themselves is really cool. But if there's somebody that is unhappy with their sex characteristics, I think they should be able to change them. I just wouldn't want to like force people to have certain like biological sex characteristics that they're uncomfortable with, especially when we have medicine like hormones, for example, that can make people more happy and comfortable in their own bodies.
Don't parents nowadays though make that choice at birth?
What do you mean?
I know if my child was born with both sexes, I would want one of them, whatever. is the dominant sex. Like
Why?
if my baby is born with a uterus and ovaries, cut that part off that don't supposed to be there. And it's
Why
I've
would you wait?
seen
Why would you irreversibly like have surgery performed on your child if it's not medically necessary? Like,
I mm-mm.
what if they want to have that part that they were naturally born with, and you make this decision for them before they can even consent to that? I mean, I think that if you wait until they're like a teenager and they can consent to that kind of procedure, then that's a lot better than making a decision for them without their consent that is entirely
Naomi,
medically unnecessary.
no disrespect to you, but you have never had a child.
Okay.
Okay,
And
so
you're not
you
a
don't
trans
know them
woman,
feel.
so I don't think this identity politics argument really holds any water.
No, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm
Well,
just
here's the
trying
thing.
to
I can talk about
say that.
children just the same way that you can talk about trans issues. Just because I haven't given birth to a child doesn't mean I can't talk about children. Just like how just because you're not a trans woman doesn't mean you can't talk about trans women.
I'm saying this. That's just me. I would do that choice. Just like when
But why?
5 and
You haven't
6 year
provided any justification. Like I presented, this very much plausibility that they could be very happy with their natural intersex body and that they wouldn't want to have been permanently altered without their consent.
well, it's just the same thing as I don't believe a 5 or 6 or 7 year old can consent to taking hormones either.
No 5-year-old or 6-year-old or 7-year-old has ever been put on trans hormones.
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm saying this is a
That's the
learning
problem. You
process.
don't know. You're just making it up.
No, I know I would not let my child have two things down there. I know that much. I
Why not?
know it because
What's
that's
wrong
just
if
the
your
way
child has what's wrong if your child has intersex genitals?
because I don't want them to.
Why?
Because they don't have to figure out nothing once they're done. Like I said, Naomi, if you got a
They're going to have to
uterus and
figure that out eventually when they go to the doctor and they learn that they're intersex and they have been permanently altered by you. They're going to have some figuring out to do, and they might not like your decision.
well, they won't know about the decision
They
because
can
it's
definitely find out later in life just by talking to a doctor and having like their medical records checked and things like that.
okay. And we're just going to agree to disagree. I mean, like
You
I
haven't provided
said,
any reason why, though. That's the problem.
yes, I did. It's my child. It's my choice. Just like
That's not
y'all
a
say, when you
reason.
want to be trans, it's your
Hold up, hold up.
choice.
My child, my choice is not a good reason. I could say my child, my choice. I want to abuse my child. That's not a really good reason, right?
No, don't do that. Don't
I'm
do
saying
that.
you don't have a good reason.
I feel that's abuse having somebody walk around with two genitalias.
How is that abuse? That's what they were naturally born as, and it's not harmful in any way.
It's I can't say defect, but it's something that happens that wasn't supposed to happen.
What do you mean supposed to happen? What's supposed to happen is that genes are supposed to mutate. That's how our species evolves. They were supposed to be intersex because that's how their genes wound out. You don't get to decide what's supposed to happen. What is supposed to happen is that they were supposed to be intersex because that's how their genes work.
Well, we call it a birth defect.
What makes it a defect?
Oh, you can't say that. I'm sorry.
What makes it a defect? Literally.
Well, I don't know if you understand. In our community, we're not going to let our children have to go through life being. They already have enough from birth. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what's wrong with being intersex?
That's just something added on to them being who they are as a. Do you? I don't think
Okay.
you
And if
understand what
somebody
I'm
if some
saying.
wait, if somebody is born black, that's something added on to who they are. That doesn't mean we should try to make them white.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying black people when
I'm
they.
taking your logic to its conclusions, and it
No, you're
doesn't make
taking it
sense.
to your conclusions. I
Not at
lived
all.
black
Not
for
wait, wait.
60
You don't
years.
understand. You don't understand. I don't think that we should make kids white. I don't think that we should force intersex babies to undergo irreversible genital surgery. That's what your logic supports. Your logic that,
That's
well,
what
we don't want
most
kids to, we
my
wait,
people support.
stop. One sec, let me finish. Your logic is, well, if we can, perform surgery to make it so that kids don't have to go through extra shit, then let's perform the surgery. So that would apply to like making black kids white as well. Like that just doesn't make any sense.
And that don't make sense because you can't do that. But you can have a choice with
I mean,
intersex.
Michael Jackson altered his skin color.
He bleached his skin. We're
Okay,
not
so
going to do that.
should we bleach baby's skin so they can avoid being black?
If a parent wants to do what they want to do, I'm just saying my opinion and
That's
people
messed
I
up.
know.
Why should parents be allowed to bleach the skin of their black babies? Why?
I didn't say they should. I've never
You
heard of
said if a
that
parent
before.
wants to. Why should
I
they be
said,
allowed to do that?
you said Michael Jackson bleached his skin. He was a grown man. He could do whatever he
You are
wanted to.
justifying parents being allowed to do this to babies.
No, I'm not. I said I will not allow.
But you support parents altering the genitals of intersex babies.
Yes, in my black community, I do.
Why?
Because we already got one strike being born. Okay,
Okay.
you wouldn't
So
understand that.
by that very logic, you should also be allowed to bleach the skin of black babies.
Naomi, that don't make no sense.
That's your logic. You just
No,
said your
that's
own
not.
logic doesn't make sense. That is
No, that's
literally
not
your
my
own logic
logic.
applied to a different situation. That
No,
is
I'm using.
100% your logic applied to a different situation. When you said that don't
No,
make sense, you're saying your own logic doesn't make sense.
I'm saying
Thank you.
I will choose what sex my child would have been if they were intersex. That's what
Why?
I'm saying. I'm
That's
telling you
not
why, because I'm the
that's not a fair
parent.
decision for you
Just
to
like
make.
parents
That's
allow
not
their
a fair
teenagers to
decision.
take
Wait,
hormone blockers
why? That's
and they
completely
can't even
different.
buy
Hold up, hold
liquor.
up. Hold up. That is completely different because a teenager can give medical consent with the help of doctors and therapists, but a baby cannot give that medical consent. And so if you are forcing a baby to undergo a medical procedure, a surgical procedure, which is completely unnecessary just because it fits your aesthetic views of gender or sex, that's messed up.
It's unnecessary to you, but not to my family, not to me, not to
Why is
my
it
culture.
necessary? Wait, why is it necessary that you should forcibly alter the sex of an intersex baby?
If I already know what they're going to be, see, you're making it seem like now if they have a prostate, then I know that's a boy because women don't have them, right?
There are actually some intersex
No,
females that are born
Naomi.
with prostates. That
No.
actually happens.
Heck no.
Did
I
you
ain't
not
gonna
know that?
believe that. I worked at
I
Yale
can
New Haven
hold up,
Hospital
hold
in
up,
New
hold up.
Haven, Connecticut,
Please
and
stop
I have
being loud.
never
Please
heard
stop
that.
being
And
loud
I'm
and
gonna
wrong.
ask a
I can
doctor that because that's
hold
some
up.
bull.
Please hush you
That's not
poo. I
true.
can pull up the medical
I
literature
don't care
and give you
what medical
cases.
book from somewhere over there in
See,
Huckabee because
you
that's
think
not
that,
true.
so I can pull up medical literature which has documented case studies of intersex women being born with prostates, and you're
Right,
just going
because
to
they're
yell that these
male.
medical studies are wrong?
They're males. If they're intersex and they have a prostate, they are male. Just
They
like
are
I'm saying,
they
if
are
they're
born,
intersex and they
wait,
have ovaries and
they
a
are,
uterus,
hold up.
they're a woman.
These
Come on
people, these
now.
people are born, these people are born with a vagina and a prostate. You think that's a man?
You said they're intersex, so they have
Yeah.
both sexes.
Do you think that do you think that they're a man or a woman?
Women do not have prostates.
So that person cannot be a woman, even though they were
No,
born with a vagina?
they're intersex. They have both. You just
Do you
said.
think that intersex people can't be women?
Yes, I just said that. I said if they have uterus and ovaries, they're on the woman's side. If they have a prostate, they are a male because women don't have
That's not how the
prostates.
medical literature defines these things, though. That's the problem.
It
Is
doesn't
in these
matter. That's
specific
what life
intersex
defines it, Naomi. And you know, if some
you're saying that you know better than the medical literature because what does that even mean? This is literally what the
do you
academic
really
medical
think
literature talks about, where there are some women, some people who are born with a vagina that also have a prostate, and it is
if
the
they
medical standard.
intersex,
Hold
yes.
up, hold up, hold up, hold up. It is the medical standard to assign them female at birth, to put female on their birth certificate, and
I've never heard of that.
they generally grow up being raised as girls, being raised as women. Well, here's the problem. If you've never even heard about that, then why don't you listen and learn instead of just saying, no, I don't believe that's not true?
I'm going to ask the doc. I work at one of the major hospitals in Connecticut, and I'm going to go to one of the doctors and ask them, who do I talk to about that? Because I have never in my life
So
heard nothing like that
the condition
before.
is called complete androgen sensitivity syndrome. You can look it up.
And what is it, a ratio of zero
Sometimes,
point?
who cares how rare it is? Sometimes there are women who have complete androgen sensitivity syndrome who are born with both a vagina and a prostate. It happens sometimes.
I've never heard that before. I got to ask. He's going to look
Okay.
at me like I'm a fool.
Complete androgen insensitivity and prostate. Let me find you a medical article.
From
Right
somewhere in the
here.
United States and from a doctor, not from Africa.
Yes, here is a PubMed article,
What the
which
heck is
says
PubMed?
that is the pubmed.ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. It is the National Library of Medicine, which has peer-reviewed published articles. And this talks about people that are born with certain intersex conditions, and they mention individuals that have complete androgen sensitivity, born with a vagina, and a prostate.
If they're intersex, don't they have both sex?
Well, they would have mixed sex characteristics to an extent. This is an intersex
Oh,
condition we're
Lord.
talking about.
I'm going to agree to disagree. That's how I feel. I'm going to make that choice for my child.
You
And
agree to disagree with this peer-reviewed medical article.
if it ain't the, what is it?
This is a government website, the
I
National
don't,
Library of
honey,
Medicine.
I don't go, girl, come on, the government, come on now.
This is a peer-reviewed published article that is in the
The
National
Journal
Library of
of,
Medicine, and you think that's false?
what else? The Journal of,
So
I
this
don't
was
know,
published
but
in the
I
it was
work at
published
Yale
in
New
the
Haven Hospital, part of
this was
Yale
first
University.
hold
So
up.
I
This was
will
first
ask.
published hold up. This peer-reviewed study was first published in the Journal of Urology, the official journal of the American Urological Association, and then it was uploaded to the National Library of Medicine after it had already been peer-reviewed in another journal. And it mentions some women who have complete androgen sensitivity who were also born with a prostate.
Well, most men I know have one. So I'm going to leave it at that. And that's probably so rare if it's
Well, hold on.
possible.
Here's the
But
thing. If your statement is that most men have a prostate, I agree with you
all men,
100%. But the problem is when you came in here and you said only men have prostates, or when you said there's no such thing as
yes.
a woman with a prostate, when you make
No.
those absolute claims, you are excluding intersex people in a way that is harmful, in a way that is othering. But if
So
you were
in
to
your
make
opinion,
if you were to make the general claim and say something like, "Oh yeah, I mean, it's mostly men that have
in your
prostates,"
opinion,
then nobody is going to take issue with that. The
in
problem is when
your
you speak in
opinion, we have an
absolutes that other
opinion. Your
people.
opinion is what you believe because,
I am
you know,
literally just stating facts. I have
I
not even
don't
brought
want
up
to
an
hear about no
opinion about
government
here.
facts. I'm
I'm
stating life. If my child
this is
has
just
that problem, if
this
my
is
sister's
peer-reviewed
children,
medicine. This is not an opinion. This is literally facts and data
well,
and
it's
science.
no. Well, I'm gonna find out when I go to work on Monday. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna see
Okay.
if any of them major, lovely
This
doctors that graduated from Yale University heard of any such mess like that.
the specific thing you want to mention is women who
No,
are born
I'm gonna
with
say you
complete
said
androgen.
women were born with prostates.
I'm I'm
Intersex
going to
women.
help you. I'm going to help you explain it to them. Ask them if it is true that some women with complete androgen sensitivity syndrome are born with prostates. This specific study I'm looking at had 3 cases of women with complete androgen sensitivity that had prostates.
Were they all over in them odd countries or were they in the United States?
Um, this was a follow-up at the pediatric endocrinology clinic at the John Hopkins Hospital.
Oh,
So I believe that's in
that's in
America.
the United States. I know where John Hopkins is.
Yeah, these were cases
Yeah.
that came out of John Hopkins in particular. Here's the thing: intersex people are born all across the world. It's actually a lot more common than people think. People that are born with mixed sex characteristics are about as common as people with red hair.
Okay, Naomi. I'm gonna ask them. I am gonna
But
have
you
them
think that you
doctors
want
send
to
me.
surgically alter 2% of the population without their consent? That's ridiculous.
And it's ridiculous that we don't have pro-choice, right?
That we don't have what?
We don't have pro-choice anymore in some states.
I
So
also agree
what's
that that's ridiculous. Yeah.
okay? So you have an opinion, I do too. I didn't come up here to fight with you, Naomi. I just came up here to say that trans
That
women
you
are
would want
not
to
true women,
mutilate your
and that
intersex children?
and if I had an intersex child, I already said what I do and how many
Yeah,
people
but the problem
around
is
me.
you never provided a justification for why you would choose to mutilate your intersex child without their consent.
The same way kids at 14 and 15 could take hormones but can't buy liquor. How
You
about
do know
that?
that they can provide medical consent. You know that like you can talk to a 15-year-old, they can like talk to a therapist and a doctor, and the therapist be like, okay, we've worked with you for years, we've diagnosed you with this condition, we can prescribe you medicine for this condition, be it ADHD meds, be it antidepressants, be it transforming hormones. You can't do that with a literal baby
Where do 7-year-olds take
who you are
hormones?
advocating for altering their genitals without their consent. That's
Nate
messed
Dogg,
up.
Nate Dogg said 7-year-olds be taking hormones.
There is no
Why?
7-year-old that is taking hormones. Where are you getting this from?
That's what he said. Because I know I've heard.
Who
I
said
know
that there are
Jazz
who
did.
said that there are
I know
7-year-olds taking
Jazz.
hormones?
Did you watch that
Jazz,
show, Jazz?
Jazz Jennings
Did
did
you?
not take hormones at 7 years old.
She was on hormones starting. As I watched all the seasons.
She did not take hormones at 7. That's not when. Wait, you don't like it would literally not be there would not be any benefit at all to taking hormones or puberty blockers before the onset of puberty. That just does not make any medical sense.
Well, my niece had her
That's not how
period
these
at
medicines are
9.
prescribed.
My niece had a menstrual at 9. So that's
Huh?
going through puberty, right?
Are you talking about puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones?
Whatever that you take that has that
Those are
make
very different medicines because puberty blockers are entirely reversible. There's no there's not a tangible concern to someone taking puberty blockers. So
what I'm
wait, if
saying
somebody's
is,
taking puberty blockers at the age of 7, who cares? They can go off of them and then undergo puberty whenever they're ready.
so what's the difference? Isn't that what you're trying to do? That's the main thing. So you won't get that
Are you
voice that
asking what's the difference between puberty blockers and intersex genital mutilation?
no, I'm
Because
saying
there's a very big difference there.
I didn't say that. I'm talking about my niece started her menstrual at 9. So that means she was going through puberty at
Okay.
9. Kids started early and early every year. So
Okay.
yes, if they're going through puberty, then if they're 9 and if she wanted, I mean, of course that wasn't gonna happen in my family, but I don't think they have the right mind to agree to whatever becoming a boy and a girl. You know what I'm
That's not what puberty blockers does. Puberty blockers doesn't change your sex.
I didn't say that. It blocks you from getting the things you're supposed to get when you grow up, right?
So essentially, what a puberty blocker would do is the way that they work is that they block hormones from latching onto your hormone receptors. Therefore, essentially, it would put a pause on your puberty, where you can take puberty blockers for a couple of years. You can continue talking to doctors and therapists, going to gender therapy, and then through that process of exploring your gender and gender therapy, if the doctors and therapists determine that, it turns out that, maybe you're just gender nonconforming, then you just stop taking the puberty blockers, you undergo your natal puberty, and all is okay. Now, if it is the rare case where this kid, has a consistent cross-gender identity, they desire to medically transition, the doctors and therapists have established that, this is persistent, then they would be allowed after a couple of years of puberty blockers and gender therapy to take cross-sex hormones to undergo a puberty of the opposite sex, much like how doctors can prescribe things like antidepressants, things like ADHD meds to teenagers if they've worked with them, diagnosed them, that kind of thing. And this medicine overwhelmingly helps the people. We actually had a study come out of the Pediatrics Journal of 2022, and it found that it studied 317 binary trans kids who were aged 3 through 12 at the start of the study, and then it examined them for 5 years. And what's awesome about this study is that, some of the kids that were in the older group at the start of the study, they went on to take puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. And out of the 98 kids that went on to take cross-sex hormones who had been through this process of gender therapy, none of them detransitioned. They were all happy with the results. The systems we have in place are very good at identifying the kids who are actually trans and who are actually going to benefit from this. And I think that, having these rigorous systems in place to determine who is going to benefit from this medicine, such that we have, an informed consent model where we involve the teenager, we involve the doctors as well. Teenagers can absolutely benefit from medicine prescribed in that setting.
Naomi, I just want your guests to know I'm trying to be careful with my words because I'm new to this TikTok and this transgender type of thing. So
Oh,
I'm not
people are
trying to
people
say
are asking for the
anything.
study. One sec. For the people asking for the study is titled Gender Identity 5 Years After Social Transition. The first author is Christina R. Olson, and it was in Pediatrics 2022. So Gender Identity 5 Years After Social Transition.
That's what I'm trying. That's why one person said that I don't even know how to talk. I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I don't
Well,
want to
just say what you
disrespect
believe.
anyone.
Here's the thing.
Huh?
Honestly, I just want you to say what you genuinely believe. Like, that's the point of this conversation, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to get blocked, and you don't want. I mean, they're all for you, and except for one or two in your live. So I understand that. That's
Oh,
why
I,
I'm
I get
trying.
lots of people that are very much opposed to me that get into my lives that
I've
watch.
seen
So,
2 comments so far. I'm watching comments too. I seen. Well, Naomi, thank you for letting me be up here, but I am going to ask them doctors on Monday.
okay, they will tell you that complete androgen sensitivity is a real intersex condition, and that these are women that can be born with prostates. That is just the fact about the medicine.
All right, sweetheart. Take care.
Okay, have fun learning. Bye. That was absolutely wild. Oh my goodness.